Hey Giants fans, welcome back to Giants Latest. It is Eagles week. The Giants take on the Philadelphia Eagles at home at MetLife Stadium on Thursday Night Football. And I just know that we are all so excited about this game. The matchup, it's going to be tough. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into who's actually going to be playing, because if we thought it was bad last week with the wide receivers, I think it might be worse this week because Darius Slayton is probably not playing. So he is dealing with, I believe it's a hamstring injury. Let me just pull up the injury report here. And Dable said he is most likely not going to go. So Slayton hamstring, Demetrius Flanagan-Foles hamstring, Jermaine Illuminor has a back injury, and then Swayze Bozeman has an ankle. So Dable said that Illuminor should be good to go. The only upside there is that if he's not good to go, we have Marcus Bowe, who is better than the backup tackles that we've had in a while. But still, the Eagles are not a bottom team in the NFL. So this game's going to be tough regardless. And I know some people are going to say, thank God Darius Slayton is not on the field because of what happened last week. But I think last week was just a really bad game for Darius Slayton, and he's had a few of those throughout his Giants career, but ultimately he also has made a lot of plays for this team. So, I don't think that Jalen Hyatt is better than him. I don't think that Beau Collins, who stopped running his route in the middle of a game, is better than him. I don't think that little Jordan Humphrey is going to be better than him, but the Giants have to make some changes, and they have to make them fast. So here's what I expect them to do with this wide receiver core now without Darius Slayton. So I think we're going to see a Lil Jordan Humphrey elevation, which is going to be good, right? He has a lot of experience with Jackson Dart throughout the summer and preseason. They have a good established connection. Now, Lil Jordan Humphrey has a bit more experience in the league too over someone like Beau Collins and Jalen Hyatt. So I think that's also going to provide some benefit for Jackson Dart and this offense. So if I'm the Giants, this is what I would do. Obviously, you keep Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot. You make him a big focal point of this game unless he's double covered. The second thing is my wide receivers on the outside. I'm doing Beau Collins and Lil Jordan Humphrey. And depending on how Beau Collins is going, then I would rotate in Jalen Hyatt. I am really disappointed with Jalen Hyatt. I have been defending him. I have been optimistic about him. And after that drop last week, I just have lost all faith in him. And I say this a lot. If there's one thing I want to be wrong about, it's the New York Giants. I want Jalen Hyatt to go out there and prove me wrong and said, I'm sick of people talking shit about me. I'm a better football player than what I've shown, and I'm going to prove it right now. For the love of God, Jalen Hyatt, do it. Bring something to this football team. We need someone to contribute. We need everyone to contribute a little bit. But if it can't be Darius Slayton this week, then it has to be Jalen Hyatt, Beau Collins, Little Jordan Humphrey, Wan'Dale Robinson. Every single one of those players needs to be involved, and they need to make plays when the balls actually come their way. When I watched some of the clips of the film last week from Jackson Dart, he did a good job for the most part. There were some throws that were not great, but for the most part, his throws were accurate to the wide receivers, and they have to make a play. The Darius Slayton drop is inexcusable. I was going to say unacceptable. The fumble, look, shit happens. But for someone like Darius Slayton, who's been in the league for as long as he has, stuff like that shouldn't happen. I can forgive Cam Scattaboo for him doing it once. I better not see it again, especially not this week. But, they really have to figure out how to spread the ball around. And Wan'Dale Robinson was not targeted a lot last week. They better increase his targets this week. The second thing I want to see is if you are very concerned about this wide receiver core, which if you are Mike Kafka and Brian Dable, you should be, get the tight ends involved. Play 12 personnel over and over and over and over until they stop it. Until they stop it back to back to back to back. And then you can move on and try something different. The Saints were not stopping and double covering the tight ends. Theo Johnson and Daniel Bellinger should have continued to be targeted play after play on each of those drives throughout the second quarter and into the third and fourth quarter. Would it have helped some of the turnovers? I don't know. But you have to implement that this week. It has worked with Theo Johnson. He has 3 touchdowns in 2 games. Daniel Bellinger had a career high 52 yards last week, which is insane. 52 yards is nothing in the grand scheme of things, but he moved the ball when it mattered. He made plays on third downs. He converted those third downs into first downs. You have to utilize the tight ends, and I am so sick of hearing over and over again that Dable loves the tight end position and always going to get them involved. Okay, then do it. Back it up, buddy, because you've spent a lot of time, energy, effort, draft picks, trades, free agencies to bring in tight ends. Let's go through them, shall we? They drafted Daniel Bellinger their first year here. Then they draft Theo Johnson last year. They trade for Darren Waller. They bring in Chris Manhertz 2 years in a row now. They sign Greg Dulcich. The list goes on. You've brought in all these tight ends. Use them. That's what they're there for. And I know that in the past we've had issues with the offensive line. I get it. The tight ends have been used to block. But still scheme one of them open. You want to use Chris Manhertz as a sixth guy to block? Great. Then let Theo Johnson or Daniel Bellinger be the pass catcher. Add him into the wide receiver core. You need a reliable target. And again, if they're worried about this wide receiver core, which they should be, involve the tight ends more. That is going to be one of the ways that the Giants can win this game, is to get the tight ends involved. Now, let's talk about the defense, because how on earth are our corners going to cover Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert, who also has quite a few touchdowns at this point in the season? Now, I know Philly has not been passing the ball a lot. Saquon Barkley, I think he's averaging less than 4 yards a carry, which is nothing for him after the year he had last year. And he's dealing with some sort of knee injury, the last I saw in their injury report, although, sources say that he's going to play. Of course he's going to play. He would never let some knee injury, they'll shoot it up with Toradol or whatever it is, and he'll be out on the field without any issues. So, they're going to have to be able to slow down the run, because with this whole documentary shit that's coming out with Saquon this week on the night of the game, he's going to use that. I don't know if you guys have seen the clips, but we're not getting into this documentary, but I'm going to say one thing and one thing only about this, is that Saquon himself said that he is petty and immature. And if you don't think for 1 second that he is going to tell Nick Sirianni and they are going to go in there and their game plan is going to be for Saquon Barkley to embarrass John Mara and Joe Shane and this Giants team all over again, and he's going to try and run all over them, your head is in the clouds, because that's exactly what they're going to try and do. So they have to slow down the run, and this team has gotten better at it. They have been better than we expected in the last couple games. This is not the week. You hear me? It is not the week for you to let the running back, Saquon Barkley, go off against you, okay? We've seen this play before. It has to end differently this time. Now, Nacho was back this week, which definitely helped the run. He was back against the Saints. He's going to play again this week, which is going to be very important against the run. So having Nacho back is going to be important. If we had Micah McFadden, I'd be feeling a little bit different about this. I'm still a little worried about the linebackers. Bobby O is still in the top players or top linebackers in the league, leading in tackles. So I have confidence in him. I think he's looked better in the last couple weeks. And Darius Muasau has obviously been a bump to this defense, way more so than Swayze Bozeman and some of the other backup linebackers have been prior to Muasau coming back last week. So that is going to help too, but they really have to be able to slow down the run. So if I'm Shane Bowen, I'm blitzing, because Jalen Hurts has proven that under pressure, he makes mistakes. And especially if they are not going to be a pass-heavy team this week, put pressure on him. Put some trust in your players that they can get there. Scheme them to get there. You have edge rushers who can get to the quarterback. Okay? Brian Burns is very fast. So is Abdul Carter off the edge. They can make tackles. Okay? You don't want to let Jalen Hurts run all over you, but I'd rather it be Jalen Hurts than Saquon Barkley. If you have to pick one, that's the one that we're going to pick here. So I want to see them blitz a little bit more this week. I think it's going to put, dare I say, Cordell Flott and Tay Banks a little bit better of a position if they can force Jalen Hurts to make mistakes under pressure. It should help them. So I really just want to see Bowen just blitz a little bit more. Just try it, okay? And don't let Dallas Goedert be the reason that you lose, okay? Because the Giants have a history over the last decade, maybe longer at this point, of not being able to cover the tight ends. Please do not let Dallas Goedert be the reason that you lose this game. And look, it's probably going to be anyone, if not all of them, on the Eagles offense as to why we lose this game. But I just don't let it be Dallas Goedert, okay? Cover the tight end, please. I feel like this secondary is improving slowly. Like, there's been botch coverage. We've seen this happen over and over again. It happened with Rashid Shaheed last week. It happened with Omarion Hampton the week before. Okay, this defense obviously has problems, but I think that they have slowly been improving a little bit. Drew Phillips, is tied for number 2 in the NFL with the most amount of pass breakups, but he's also on the flip side of that, number 1 in the NFL with the most amount of penalty yards. So he's got to figure out some sort of consistency there because he makes some great plays and then he does some really stupid things. So I've said this a lot with this team is that there needs to be more consistency. And Drew Phillips is a perfect example of that. How on earth are you leading the NFL in penalties, but then you're top 2 in pass breakups? Like, what? He's also had some really great tackles for loss. Like, he does some really great things, and then he does some infuriating things. So I need them across the board to be more consistent. That means you, Shane Bowen, put your players in a position to succeed. The Eagles' offensive line is tied with number 24 in the NFL. They are not the powerhouse of Eagles' offensive line that we have seen over the years past. Let these guys blitz. Give them the chance to beat their guy. They're going to do it. Not every play, not every drive, but they're going to get home. They're going to create those pressures. The Eagles are going to try and get the ball out quickly like Spencer Rattler and Kellen Moore did last week, and it worked for them. The Eagles are going to try and make it work for them too this week. But you've got to be better about letting your players try to get pressure on the offensive line and the quarterback. The Saints' offensive line is actually ranked higher than the Eagles right now. So use that to your advantage, okay? Please get home. Pressure Jalen Hurts. Now, ultimately, it's going to come down to this. Can the Giants win this game? I think that there's always a chance that the Giants can win. Now, do I think they're going to? No. They just lost to the Saints. And I've been out on this coaching staff since January, since actually before that I wanted them fired, but I knew they weren't going to do it midseason. And, everything that's happening now is what so many of us who wanted them gone are happening. So I don't have any bit of faith that this coaching staff is going to provide the edge that we need to beat a good Philadelphia team. And that's what it comes down to for me, because I think our team is talented. I think it's more talented than a team like the New England Patriots, who don't have a great roster, but they have a damn good coach in Mike Vrabel and they have a good quarterback in Drake May. And look what they've been able to do. So coaching matters. It makes a difference in the NFL. Kellen Moore proved that to us last week. And I don't think we have that edge. So while I think there's always a chance that the Giants can win, they did it against the Chargers. There's always the chance there that if they play well, if they figure it out, if they can, put pressure on Jalen Hurts and force him to make mistakes, and the offense can move the ball and they can score in the red zone like they did last week. They did so many good things last week. If it wasn't for those turnovers, it's a different game. But I just don't have the confidence that they're going to do it this week on a short week without some key players against an Eagles team. And Giants, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I will be happy to come out here on Friday morning and say, I was wrong. They did it. Now, I'm not going to come out here and say I'm a Brian Daboll believer, but I'll come out here and say that I was wrong about this New York Giants team, that they have the ability to beat good football teams. We saw them do it against the Chargers, and they can do it against the Eagles. So Giants, prove me wrong. Go out there, beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Nothing would make me happier, especially on this night, knowing that Saquon is releasing this documentary after all the shit that's been said by him leading up to it this week, last year. The list goes on. Just go out there and beat our division rival, okay? We're 0-2 in the division. Enough is enough. Brian Daboll is something like 2-19-1 in his career against the NFC East with the Giants. So go out there and make it 3-19-1, would you? Please, we're begging you. I'll be there on Thursday night. Doing my best to look forward to it. Go Giants. Make sure you subscribe for more.